Scontasini per Nedved, gol! Pirlo, la conclusione in rete! Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Ciao tifosi bianconeri, hello and welcome to episode 332 of the Turin Giants podcast. We are recording this live on YouTube roughly 10 minutes after Juventus Pafos concluded. You know, as the second half started, I was getting ready to make some kind of joke that this is no longer the Turin Giants podcast, but we're the Turin Smurfs or the Turin Dwarfs or something.
Minis.
They are not living up to the Giants that's in the name of our group here. But we are happy to be here. Certainly a lot of frustration to talk about, but at least there is a victory. I am Kevin, your host for this episode, and I'm joined here by Farhad, Zach, and Frederic. Guys, without getting to the match yet, how are you doing? Blood pressure okay? How many cigarettes are in your lungs? How many drinks are you? How's it going?
Before we get started, I do have a question specifically for Frederic. Juventus 1996, Juventus 2016, Juventus 2025. Which one is your favorite out of those three?
2025.
You love
it. It's like, you know, for once in my life I saw teens like cutting themselves like a lot in as a school teacher, and I never could fathom as to why. This is the same experience, just without the scars. So
the scars
I'm
are
really
eternal.
happy, man. Yeah.
Zach,
more
how are
but
you?
start.
We certainly do not condone anything of the sort of self-harm. And should you consider it, please seek counseling of either friends or a professional.
And for Juve fans, we have this.
Therapy sessions. We have group therapy sessions as well.
Zach, how are you?
Well, I was fine before literally being able to hear the number of cigarettes that Frederic smoked during that game in his voice. I'm happy with the win. Was it ugly? Yes. Was it a win? Yes. Did I miss the Napoli recording, which means I've been a part of 4 straight wins? Yes. Am I sort of taking credit for it while question talking? Also, yes.
Take it, baby.
Farhad, good to see you.
You too,
Back
sir.
from a nice trip to Denver, Colorado with the family. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. Oh, it's great to be back. You guys are holding down the fort. I appreciate you. I was in the studio all day today trying to work on improving it as always. So it's good to be back. I'll be in and out. I am on daddy duty, so I apologize. But great win. Can't wait to see what you guys think. Can't wait to see that you pull the positives out of this this dreadful performance.
We will do our best. And before we get into it, just a few things to get us started. As referenced, we are live on YouTube. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. A like, setting the alerts would mean so much to us. If you're a return visitor, welcome back. We're so happy to have you with us. And of course, if you're listening to this on your podcast platform of choice, thank you for coming back to us. A 5-star rating means the world. And we're happy that you're willing to spend some of your Juventus time with our crew. And of course, you can follow us at Turin Giants on Instagram and at Turin Giants Official on YouTube. And I think that's it. I think we'll dive right in here. So sometimes we start just with an initial reaction. Sometimes we start by dissecting the starting 11. I actually want to do something a little bit different this time and start focusing on the positives, right? There's plenty of negatives to unpack. We won this match. We had a clean sheet. what turned this game around? What is the what are some of the positive things in the second half that enabled us to pull out the W? And Zach, we're going to start with you because I know you seem to be at more of an optimistic state right now. And let's start with that mindset.
I love the emotion of my fellow Turin Giants cast members, but sometimes y'all forget that it's 90 minutes. Okay. And so I was calm in a 2-0 victory, even an ugly one. That's fine. I think the adjustment that was core to our turnaround today was the formation change. Moving Coop Miners at halftime into the midfield and placing Jagrova with Chico, I think really provide us a little bit more midfield stability that allowed us, despite still playing sloppily, to slowly push Pafos into this to the extent that my note immediately above when we scored was that we had forced Pafos just in and around their box in a very negative form where they were never going to score from that position. And we were able to carve out that space due to an upgraded midfield presence to choke Pafos out of the game. And so I think that is a proactive coaching piece too often lacking in our squad over the last year and a half, that mostly came from utilizing the same folks on the pitch, moving Coop from the defense to the midfield. And so applause to Spalletti for recognizing how he could get the best out of the folks on the pitch, despite many of them having far from their best game.
The formation change and Coop moving into the midfield, I think, is definitely something we're going to want to unpack later in the episode. But Frederic, please do your best. Like, you're going to have your opportunity here to share how you felt after the first half, during the first half, and perhaps throughout most of the match. But give us something good to hold on to here. Give us something good around what helped turn this game around, what enabled us to leave with a victory.
I vastly agree with Zach's comment, but I also think that it was not only just our merit by having that reinforced midfield, but also Pafos' inability to respond to that. I think it took very long before that Pafos made a change formation-wise or tactically, which is normal with a team that isn't such a big name or doesn't have these experienced players as we're used to, or a coach that's used to doing that. So kudos for us for changing the formation, or Spalletti at least. But I think if it were another team that would be expecting this or could see this coming, they reacted vastly or sharply or more sooner. But I think it wasn't just Coop Miners' presence. I think because we had that extra presence in midfield, it enabled a lot of midfielders to go forward again, and we saw that on the first goal, that McKennie dived deep into the box, had some space, took a beautiful shot, and that was largely due to that formation change, having more presence in the box, having more upward strat in the third part of the pitch. So that was a very, very good move, but it was the only move we could make at that point, I might suggest.
Farhad, same question to you. What, just to kick things off here, what enabled this match to turn around, and what are some of the positives that you saw in the second half leading to the win?
The reshuffling, we clearly saw that Jagrova wasn't pulling the weight. Conceição kind of said, you know what? Fuck you. Pay me. Let's go to work. He missed a lot of opportunities. But in a big picture, yeah, I guess the change of formation and words during halftime, I guess, shook up the squad a little bit, and they came out with fire. And Kevin, you mentioned that you weren't a huge fan of people, at the stadium whistling at the guys, not making the situation better. I'm not saying you're wrong, but leaving the pitch, there was a wall of boos and whistles. So I don't know, maybe that helped out a little bit as well.
Well, so in Farhad's referencing in our WhatsApp group chat, which gets very colorful and lengthy.
I mute it sometimes.
Pumping out somewhere between 300 and 500 messages in a game.
Sometimes I take screenshots and then I'm like, no, the boys wouldn't want me putting this out. It can get contentious.
Keep that between us. But
guess who's the most negative and a crazy person in the chat, guys? Guess who it is?
Don't even need to guess there.
Everybody already knows.
My comment around
Surely, Jack.
the booing and the jeering was not that the fans shouldn't do that. The players definitely warranted that reaction. My concern was that the mental weakness of this team would not be able to handle that when they're already down and out, right? It's just like the sucker punch to the gut. And would they be able to be professional athletes and come out and rise to the occasion, or would that just further weigh down upon them? That's what I was worried about. But
it kind of worked.
We're here talking about a win, so thank goodness.
I can't, Kevin. Nobody said the fact that we actually finished shots. It scored multiple goals, scored first in the first time this Champions League campaign is one of a bonus. We struggle so much finishing clear chances. We got a clear, really good counterattack opportunity from David, and obviously a wonderful roof finish from McKennie. I think we have to say, despite the adjustment, like our players actually freaking finished a chance today.
Yes,
that is definitely true. So let's go back to the starting 11 where everything began for this match. So for those of you who maybe missed it or just need your memory refreshed a bit, we did start off in a 3-4-2-1. With Koopmeiners, Kelly, and Kalulu in the back, Cambiaso, Miretti, Locatelli, McKennie, and then Yildiz in the rare and first start for Eden Zagrova behind Iceman himself, David. Frederic, when you saw this lineup, what did you think? I think some of the notable things here is you have Miretti getting the start. You have Zagrova coming in after we've been told multiple times he only has 15 or 20 minutes in his legs. David coming back in after we all thought he would start against Napoli. Just what were you thinking about this lineup?
My first initial thought was, okay, Spalletti has received the message in terms of not just shaking up the entire team, but playing a bit more attacking minded in the sense that, when you have Zagrova, Yildiz, and David on the pitch simultaneously in the starting lineup, you'd assume technically that you were going to play forward and we're going to, or at least that's what I thought, put high pressure from the very start, which could quickly result into chances because Pafos is far from impenetrable as defensively and especially in the midfield. So I had high hopes, but that lasted for about 30 seconds, I think.
Zach, what about
you? Do you want me? I didn't want to spoil. I don't know if we're getting into the analysis
we're
as a
just
whole.
Just like the players that came out on the pitch. Zach, anything to add?
No, I think when I saw the lineup, I think that was what I expected, but also probably the strongest one we could put out. So the expectation is, and getting into what we know we're all going to talk about next, and that's that first half performance, is you look at what's probably our most reasonable, maybe our best starting 11 right now, considering the circumstances and the fact that we knew Eden Zagrova was going to play. So over Chico, you'd expect the team would come in against a team from Cyprus at home, play with a level of control and energy and composure that you would expect Juventus to play with in the Champions League and cruise to victory. And to that extent, the final score is completely misleading.
Farhad, did you like seeing Zagrova out there from the start?
Well, I liked it from the start. Then he started playing. I don't know what you guys think about his performance, but I thought it was
today
terrible.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was not good. No. It was just noodles for legs, misplaced passes. Maybe just maybe he's not ready to start in the Champions League.
He's slowing down the pace of the game too. Like he gets.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be the opposite, and he has played in the Champions League, but he looked awful. Against Pafos, come on, you were burning Juve when you were playing for who did he play? Lille, yeah, and then and then you do this. But I'm still a fan. I still hope this was a lesson for him. I'm not bashing him, but no good. Conceição came out and livened up the pace a little bit.
So so it seems that we felt reasonable about the starting 11, much more comfortable with this compared to the Napoli match. We had some players in somewhat of their natural positions. We had more of an attacking threat, not trying to be too cute or too creative or overthink what we would be doing, allowing the players to play in a system that they're more comfortable with. But then the first half materialized. And we have a comment here from one of our supporters here on YouTube indicating, you're all effed. We win, you guys seem upset. You draw, we're upset. You lose, we're upset. Pafos has surprised a lot of teams, and they're in the Champions League for a reason.
They were not pushovers by any stretch, for sure.
They definitely were not. And Skippy 8898, thank
Skippy,
you for that comment. But we're going to talk about.
I'm
that
with Skippy. You guys are all effed up.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that first half performance. And before we get into it again, I just want to call out a few folks here. We have Del Piero 109. We have Pino Biancu, Azzurri 4394. We have Skippy, of course. We have Mitch D93. A lot of other folks here. Thank you for joining and thank you for being with us. If you have questions, please feel free to share them and we'll do our best to get to them throughout the episode.
I love our regulars.
Absolutely. It's good to have regulars, right? Feels good.
Alessandro Del Piero approves.
Frederic, I'm going to give you the floor here for a bit because I know that first half really, really pulled you down. So we're going to give you a couple minutes here. Take a deep breath. I'm going to put my feet up, maybe go make a bag of popcorn, and you can share what you thought of this first half performance.
Well, if you come out, after the Napoli game, and the Napoli game was heavily criticized by Italian media. Don't know if you guys followed up on that. There was a real storm in terms of what Juventus have become and the mentality of that, especially. And even Spalletti was a bit harsh on some of the players and maybe even himself. You'd expect that, if you go into a Champions League game at home against a very beatable opponent, because somehow all of a sudden Pafos has become the Real Madrid of the Champions League. If I read some of the comments,
Real Madrid of the Mediterranean.
Between Turkey and, if I'm not mistaken, Greece. And if you have that game as a player and you play the way we played, regardless of the formation, regardless of any of these side issues that we can mention or excuses that we can use, with that mentality, with that lack of effort, with that lack of cohesion, consistency, effort, and whatever you can say, I would have, if I could and I was a coach, I would have subbed them all from the first to the last, because this was a disgraceful event once again, continuing the Napoli trend. And it was, dare I say it, even we were lucky not to be down by 1 or 2 goals at halftime against Pafos. And not to take anything away from Pafos, I know they're in the Champions League for a reason. I know they made it difficult for a lot of bigger teams, as a good underdog should. But if you look at that first half, as an objective supporter with a neutral stance, then all you can say is, look how they massacred my little boy. Because this was
I kept thinking about that gif.
This wasn't even worthy of a Parma, of an Udinese or whatever. So, that first half had me down bad for real, because it was a shambolic disgrace of a performance. And I pay good money to hear Spalletti's halfway rant or halftime rant. But if you look at the players individually, it's clear that we don't have a lot of talent. If you look at them as a team, it's clear that we're not a team. So, in terms of the performances and the things we need to expect this season, I have to agree with Antonio Cassano for once. Cassano said during his podcast,
Ouch.
Juve need to lower their expectations. They just need to come out and say, okay, we don't have the team to compete for Scudetto, nor do we have the team to realistically top four. We're going to be a mid-table team this season and try our best. And if you come out saying that, then I won't even expect or accept such a performance. But it at least would make it go down better a bit.
That's
But
absurd,
this
though.
was
That's
beyond-
absurd, Frederic. Because even if we were a mid-table team, we still should be able to beat Pafos. Not taking away from what they've done in the competition, right? But we have experienced players who've been there, done it more so than theirs. They're the only guy who's done it on their team is 38 years old. I mean, he's my age.
And if they were up 2-0 at halftime, that would have been merited with some of the opportunities they had.
Well, we both had opportunities in the first half, but I don't think look, I think we're at the risk of getting it twisted. Was it ugly first half? Yes, right. But if winning is the only thing that matters, and we won, and then we're spending all this entire episode just bashing on people the whole time, it's a little absurd. Okay, we can honestly
I was
call out
talking about
where things weren't good.
Hey, we started on a positive note.
I mean, and Kevin asked me to,
I'm trying to turn it here.
I
Frederic
was-
says, "Screw it all. Let's be mid-table." When we're talking about
No.
a team that we beat.
No. I didn't say. I said we should adjust our expectations, but that should come from management. I didn't say that we need to do that. I didn't say that the players need to do that. But if you come out with such a mentality, then for me, it's very clear that there's not a lot to be won this season. I'm very sorry, but if you can't get, a proper mentality boost when starting against Napoli, and you can't do the same in the Champions League, then what are you doing? I'm sorry. Then you're mediocre. You're technically mediocre and mentally mediocre. So therefore, in my opinion, you belong in the mediocrity of the table, which is halfway. This is not a team that can compete for third or second place. Not a chance in hell. Because if McKennie didn't score that goal, and I'm glad he did. Let's not get it twisted. I'm glad with the 3 points. But the way that we approach a game, the way that we mentally prepare for a game, and the way that we start a game, for me, that is for the utmost concern, because these are just league games. Imagine going into a knockout stage with, this kind of shambolic performance or mentality. You wouldn't last 10 minutes. And against Bodo, we saw glimpses of that as well. We didn't start good against Bodo either.
Well,
Bodo
good
was
thing we got the
basically
difficult games
concentration.
out of the way. We got Bodo and Pafos out of the way, so we got the really difficult teams. By the way, before I leave soon, I've wondered who the person on the logo of Pafos is, but here's a little history lesson here. The portrait on the Pafos badge is of Evagoras Palikarides. He was a Greek Cypriot poet and revolutionary who fought against the British rule in Cyprus as a part of guerrilla organization. But in 1957, he was sentenced to death by hanging. So, yeah.
I'm glad you diffused.
Well, because
I was about to yell at Frederic for citing Cassano, for citing another game that we won as an example of why we suck, about how that we're actually decently placed now in the Champions League table to move on. By the way, in a competition that none of us expected us to go very far in. But thank you, Farhad. I appreciate that we're talking about an executed poet.
Can I just say, I was making fun of him because he looks like the main singer from Depeche Mode, Dave Gahan, and I didn't want to disrespect the people of Cyprus, so I did a little research. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't post a bunch of pictures of Depeche Mode from man. But yeah, I brought a little colorfulness to the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Farhad, because I know we're definitely we've got two sides of a coin here, which I think makes for some good quality, wholesome conversation and hopefully some entertainment. And I think that's why people tune into some of this stuff as well. We've got Zach on one side of the coin who wants to really hold on to, hey, winning is all that matters, right? We got the 3 points. Let's celebrate that and move on. And Frederic is more focused on, yeah, we got the 3 points, happy for it, but man, what a dismal performance. And
I'm not sure that's
I think
exactly
Zach,
it, though.
I'd like to.
I'm happy. Like, we can break down the performance and say it was shit, which for much of this game it was. But taking the next step to say that we played poorly but won, and that we should be a mid-table team, the hell with it. That jump I cannot make. That makes no sense to me.
So are we not going to dive
You're on
into the actual
mid-table.
game? It's a one of those podcasts where we talk about Juve of today or the game, because I feel like
No, we're going to talk about the game. Like we went into for our repeat listeners and those who have kind of been with us at least the last couple episodes, we spent a lot of time talking about the deep-rooted structural issues, the management, the decision-making, and I think we'd just be repeating ourselves. I'd really like for us to stay focused on what we saw today, what we can build upon, and just our reactions. So let's move into the second half, right? Like we talked about the first half. Dreadful. We definitely had every opportunity to be going into halftime down. Thankfully, we had some key saves from Di Gregorio. There were some fortunate misses, and we go in level. Zach, if you try to put yourself in Spalletti's shoes, what are you telling the team at halftime?
It's very simple. You are your own worst enemy. In the first half, the biggest issues with this team was, one, we were playing too slow, and that's something we can control. And two, when we tried to speed things up, our touch was sloppy. Again, something in our control. And in fact, when you saw the 2 goals that we ended up scoring, both of them representative from, in one case, a quick counterattack, speed, change of play. And on the first goal, with the McKennie one, it was the same type of touches that we had tried in the first half, but failed to execute. And so I said, my message at halftime would be, believe in yourself, clean up your act, and the result will come.
Frederic, what would your message be?
Don't ask him what he's going to sell them.
We were very highly regarded or highly thought of channel with some followers, and I don't mean to spread any more colorful language than I already did. But
after you're done throwing the trash cans around,
no, but it depends on what you say to them prior to the game. I mean, it's all related. If you, as a coach, don't succeed in firing up players at the start of basically every game since you're in charge, then you have to, in retrospect, look in the mirror and say, okay, maybe I'm lacking somewhere or somewhat in that, firing them up and that shaping that mentality and that hyping them up or getting them ready for this game. Maybe I'm too overexcited towards them and cripple them mentally before they start, or maybe I'm too laid back and they're not on high alert when they start. But something, I mean, that's clear, something is wrong at the way we start games. So it all depends. But if we regard the fact that I'm just like any other coach and just try to fire my guys up and I get this performance, I'd be hell-bent. Not because of the passing, the formation, just, once again, that mentality. There were like a couple of instances where you saw that a Pafos player just outran numerous of our players while we had the ball. Like, we were in clear advantage. We had a pathway to either from the midfield to the opposite goal or whatever. And then just some guy out of Cyprus pops up and, snags the ball away. That's a coaching issue. That's a mentality issue. There are a lot of wrongs that I saw tonight that make, that changed my mood a bit, because I love a win, and a win is a win, and vince è l'unica cosa che conta. And I know, and I'm happy, in that aspect. But if I see these terrible rookie mistakes being made over and over and over and over again, then the question in my head just pops up as how to remedy them. And given the fact that I have no explanation or no solution for that, that frustrates the hell out of me. And we can all shout and say, yeah, but we need to stick with the 4-3-3. But even in the 4-3-3, we're going to have teams that can outpress us, that can outnumber us, especially in midfield or in the 4-4-2. The question is, how do we handle that from a mental point of view, from a coaching point of view? And this is something I'm very interested to see. And so I pray that Spalletti now will take that, all or nothing approach and play, the formation that not only our players are comfortable with, but our coach is comfortable with as well. And, then it is what it is, because there's not a lot that we can change mid-season. You can get a transfer in or two. But in January, as we know, it's very difficult. So I just say stick with that formation and try whatever you can to fix that mentality, because that's the main thing that's lacking.
Zach, real quick though, because I want to make sure that when you say stick with this formation, the 4-3-3 or this kind of hybrid 4-2-3-1 that we saw towards the end?
I think the 4-2-3-1 works better for David, in my opinion. I think David is better suited with the 4-3-2 or 4-3-2 or 4-2-3-1. In my opinion. But I also think that David, because and this is something that I need to get off my chest. We've been bashing David, or the Juventus community has been bashing David, but this guy literally didn't have a lot of chances while we're protecting players that have been here over 5 or 6 years, repeating awful performances like constantly. So I mean, respect to David, because if you saw today, that was an easy opportunity, and it's you're sitting in your couch eating a bag of potato chips, and then it's ever so easy. But coming from where he came from, especially mentally, because let's not forget he played a decent game in the Copa, was then unexpectedly benched, for a big game, and then to come back and say, hey, you're starting tonight in a Champions League game, and a must-win Champions League game, and to overcome that mentally and score that chance, that speaks volumes. So for me, if it were up to me, I'd put, like, we can't say anything about David yet, because David, was thrown into this shitstorm, if I can choose that word, and has to make do with what he has. While there are players here that I expect more responsibility from. So I'd say stick with the 4-3-2-1, 4-2-3, 4-3-2-1, or 4-2-3.
Yeah, it was
A hybrid
it was a bit
formation?
fluid in the second half. Like, I think it was a clear
Yeah.
4-3-3 as it started. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to assume which formation you were referring to when you said stick with it. So Zach, sorry
Yeah.
for jumping ahead of you there, but you were about to respond to Frederick.
Yeah, so Frederic kind of digressed from the original question, which is what would you tell the team at halftime if you were Spalletti? And I think one thing implicit in what he was saying and what I hear from other folks is sort of this expectation that the players be perfect. Why can't you complete that pass? Why didn't you, receive that with a softer first touch? This team is so clearly flawed that I think it'd be unwise for Spalletti to expect perfection from players who've proven to be imperfect. The question for a coach is how to get the best out of imperfection. So you take a guy like Cambiaso, whose first 10 touches today, 9 of them were a pass to Pafos, and 1 of them was a shot on our own goal for Pafos. Like, it was not good. And so it's just a horror half from Cambiaso. So what do you tell a player like that at halftime if you're not going to sub him out? Because I guarantee you Cambiaso is aware that he did not perform very well. You have to go to that player if you're going to stick with them, and you have to say that I have faith in you. I have confidence in you. And even in the second half, when your corner kick routine again stinks and you pass it to the other team, you need to reinforce the players, because they're your decisions, that you have the faith in them to then give him the confidence that he exhibited on our goal to provide the ball at the right pace with the right weight and the right spot for McKennie to turn and make a play. So I think one thing is like we have to accept that this team is flawed, and Spalletti's job is to get the best out of these flawed players as possible, and knowing that a guy like Cambiaso on a day like today is going to get beat down the left wing incessantly, or is going to struggle to complete some certain passes as long as they come good, which Cambiaso did in getting the assist on the first goal today. And that's not to forgive his bad performance, but that's sort of a coaching approach.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said, right? You can either turn on him and really lean in, or kind of be supportive and build him up. So I mean, we'll never know what was said, but Zach, appreciate your perspective there. So you referenced Cambiaso's assist to McKennie on the very well taken shot there. Let's talk about that first goal. What was different about this opportunity compared to every other buildup we had seen so far in the match? Who wants to take that?
I think there's certain components to it, if I can jump in. The first is something I said earlier, in the sense that with the added midfielder, we were able to really start encroaching upon Pafos's box, which gave us, I think, a shorter field. Then what didn't happen in the first half, which did happen on this play, is we needed to find some space and then actually be able to execute some quick passing to find that space. So it was very simple. Chico had the ball out. He as he often does, if he's marked, he's going to step back and he's going to dish it back. Cambiaso makes a really good first step to beat his man and put him in a priority position to shoot, cross, or pass. McKennie finds the back defender, at least on the near side, and creates some space and indicates the run, and receives a good weighted pass and puts it where it can't be saved. Finish way better than the pass. But the simple things, again, flawed team, the simple things we did not do right at all that first half. So it might sound stupid to reward simple execution, but that's what was lacking from our team. Put together a couple of good passes in a extremely shortened field, and you get good results. That's simple.
Yeah, I agree. Let's while we're on the topic of goals, let's talk about that second one, which was a thing of beauty. It was a nice counterattack goal. Frederic, why don't you talk us through that one and how you were feeling afterwards?
It was rewarding to see a counterattack executed well this time. And the reason as to why I think it was well, because not only it resulted in a goal, but timing and everything fitted. And the story of the second goal to me is a bit comparable with the first goal. And I absolutely agree what Zach said. And these are the things that we lack, because if you see quality sides playing, and I'm not talking about the top club in Europe, but even the subpar top clubs, they create chances like this in a good game 6 to 7, 8 times. That doesn't mean that you'll have the finish every time, because to come back on that first goal, it was a very clean finish by McKennie. So that won't happen every time. But in order to create those chances, you have to execute those passing, the weight, the speed of the ball, the running into an open line, and those things. You need to execute that well. And this gave me some gratification, because in the past I always assumed that we didn't train on this, because this is clearly something that's been trained upon, especially the first goal. And the second goal was very nice to see that counterattack being executed flawlessly. Because Pafos left a lot of room, of course, but we saw that a lot of times this season, where the opponent left a lot of room in some way or shape or form during a game, and we just didn't have the heart or the basics to execute a counterattack. And we did that well, and I was very happy for David, because I'm going to repeat it. This is not an easy goal to score. You have, very limited time to control the ball, because you can't do it in one time. This wasn't a one-touch shot. You have to control the ball. After running across the whole pitch, you have to time that stop. You have to, keep in touch with the fact that the keeper's coming out. So you have to even glance at the keeper before you even make that finish or start to think of where you're going to put it. So it wasn't that easy as it would seem on TV. I'm very happy for David, but also for, the people involved in the goal, and getting a bit of positivity out of the fact that we finally scored a well took counterattack. And for me, that's the highlight of the game. If I had to pick one, then the executed counterattack for me is the highlight.
There were
Amazing.
two, I think, maybe potentially underappreciated moments of that counterattack. The first was Openda's involvement. The play was created from a boot from way back in our box that went up to Openda. Now, the defender jumped over Openda, fouling him because the ref was going to his mouth with the whistle. But that also threw the defender off balance, which allowed Chico to win the ball off the header. Then Chico, who we know likes to go down easily, actually maintains his balance, stays on his feet to turn his defender and move upfield and dishes early to Yildiz. I think Openda being that nuisance, and then Chico actually staying on his feet, using his balance and quickness to shift around the defender to create the space and then deliver the ball quickly, are things maybe that that he hasn't done in the past, or things that we've wanted him to do that he hasn't, or we've criticized him for not doing. So I just want to shout out, Chico with 2 hockey assists today, being involved in both of our goals positively, coming off the bench at half.
Yeah, you took one of the next talking points.
Sorry.
That's great, and I think it makes for a nice transition because Chico actually, in our previous episode, Frederic, you had made a point that you wanted to talk about Chico's performance against Napoli, and we never actually got around to it. We never dedicated the airtime to that. Today we saw a different Chico. So what was it positive impact in that second half? Much better than what Zagrova got brought to the team in the first half. Chico, man, what a polarizing player. When he is on and contributing, he's one of the best players out there, and he's a player you want on your side. But when he is off, he is off. And Frederic, I just want a reaction from you.
That's my biggest gripe with Chico. It's either it's hit or miss, and in the stages that we're in as a team, we don't have the room for a hit or miss player. I think we need a lot more certainty in our team, and I can understand if you have a poor game every now and then, which is completely understandable. But if you look at the pluses and the minuses, I think overall you can agree that Chico's season has been subpar. And those were the doubts that Zach and I had during the summer when we did the scoop and the review, because we knew that he's a very volatile player. And on nights like this, it's good having them because he was of an added value. Even though I expect more from him, even on nights like these, I sometimes feel that that cherry on top isn't being delivered where it should have been or could have been delivered. But there are also nights like last weekend when you thought, yeah, you're playing with 10 basically. So as much as I like Chico, the type of player that he is, I hope that he now has seen that he needs to get the basics and the foundation right first, and then start thinking about these extra touches and these extra cutbacks or whatever but this is like a general issue. We lack at certain points the basics in order to have a certain impact on games, and I think this is the biggest takeaway that we'll have this season. And I'm very hopeful, or hopeful is not the word, but I hope that the coach for next season will implement that in his preseason. No matter who the players are, need to get those basics right: the physicality, the mentality, the short passing. And the ability to try those passes every once in a while, because Cambiasso was so out of shape today that it literally made my eyes bleed. And then he does one good thing and it results in a goal. So to me, it says that there is some kind of potential, but we need to choose our moments better, and we need to have that mentality that drives us forward and makes us create those chances, because it's especially modern day football. I think it's very important to have those moments and take advantage of them.
So the second thing I wanted to talk about with respect to those goals, and I think we can both find some commonality, even though they originated from different areas, right? Like one as the follow-on play to a corner, the other on a beautifully executed counterattack, but both of them happening with a level of speed and directness. Right, we're getting it, and we're finding a bit of space, making runs, and going at the goal. We saw in that first half when we're on the television screen attacking to the left, and the upper corner of that box on the far end of the field, we would get the ball, and I don't know, 10 passes in a row intricately from Kalulu to McKennie to Locatelli.
And what do they all result in?
And just nothing. And when we get the ball upfield, and if we're unable to make some kind of penetrating run or pass, we end up holding on to it for another minute and then ultimately losing and doing nothing with it. Why are we so incapable of bringing the ball upfield methodically, possessing the ball, making a run, finding space, creating space, and finishing off plays that way? Almost all of our goals, I mean, I'd have to go back and like analyze them one by one, but just like thinking about the way that we're scoring, they happen when we're going much more direct at pace, not after a long spell of possession. It just seems when we have a long spell of possession, we're unable to do anything about it. Why?
Confidence and quality, I think. I'm going to let Zach take the mic. Sorry, bro.
No, you started it. You can finish if you'd like.
I think we lack the confidence in order to do so, especially if you start with the mentality that we start with almost 80% of the time. And then, of course, it's the quality, because you see if Kenan gets that opportunity to force something down on the wing, then he tries his utmost best. Granted, 6 out of 10 it fails, but the 4 times that it does, it works like a magic trick. I think we don't have we might have the players to do that, but they lack that confidence, because you see them holding on to the ball, being a bit afraid of, or trying to not do anything wrong, while they could do a lot of things right by just, having that bit more confidence. But it's like there's a mental block somewhere that they prefer to do the safe things and keep possession rather than try something in order to create space and create a possible attacking move towards the opponent's goal, in my opinion. But Zach's going to weigh in, and he knows a lot more about that than I do. So
I think it goes back to, again, playing slow and issues with control, because what happens is you get the ball out wide to a guy like Zagrov in the first half or Chico in the second half. You see our team do the exact same thing almost every time. A few runners go to the corner of the far corner of the box, and then you have one guy, usually McKennie, who sort of stands behind the defender to maybe get that dish to the corner. Static, not creative, not really good with creative in play or movement. And I think what was different in the first goal to what we've seen a lot was actual layers to our positioning, movement, and play that made the defense make decisions. Am I going to go with that guy, or am I going to follow this other one? Mm-hmm. And movement combined with that staggered play, so that one defender can't take 2 guys effectively out, is always going to give you more options. When Cambiasso beats his man with a quick step inside, which guys like him and Chico, can do, you automatically have that person advantage. If you have everyone standing statically at the back of the box, you can't do anything with that advantage, because there'll be a wall of defenders in front of you. It is, but you take that step and beat a guys where you have now depth in your positioning. You guys close, you guys in the box, you guys out of the box, you guys far, you guys near. Well, now you've got options. McKennie makes a very simple movement in. There's nobody on the other side of him to body him off. And that allows him, puts him in a position to make a play. And we saw that a lot in the second half. Chico had several times where he had optionality with his play. And I think that's the main difference, is if we don't get sucked in. And part of it, I think, is cohesion. We've talked cohesion so much this year. I think what we saw a little bit in the second half is this team knows how to play around Chico better than they do Zagrova. And that was, I think, a little bit more indicative. Plus, having the support of an extra midfielder and the freedom to move forward gives you an extra body to play around in the box, and maybe move off of each other in a more fruitful way. And I'd like to see that explored in the next, as the season progresses.
I also, if I might add on to that just for a short second, I also feel that, we can downplay it as much as we want, but our midfield quality wise is a bit subpar. We can all agree on that. But I think if we'd have a creative box to box player, the type that I'm not saying like at the same level, but the type that Vidal was.
Or his particular body part.
That would no, but that would make a huge difference. As to that extent, also a Marquisio type player, because they had that box to box movement that we need or that we see in a McKennie, but they also had the quality to try those deep cutting vertical passes, create space, even during a counterattack, or even finish off themselves. That's exactly what McKennie did tonight. And we all know that with McKennie, it's the same. It's hit or miss. I mean, that ball could have gone to the Alps as well. But fortunately for us, he did a good job today. But we need more of those players that can consistently put a stamp on our midfield, especially in a offensive way by creating, by just the passing or
Again,
keeping
no goals from our
keeping
midfield
the
at all.
no and getting the tempo in, because Locatelli slows down always.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, the guy takes 5-6 touches too many when we're countering, when we're in possession. McKennie has that same habit, but McKennie doesn't do it, I think, because he wants to do it. I think McKennie really feels that he's lacking the support. And then you have Kefren Turam. I'm not going to comment about him
I
because
mean,
he didn't play.
I mean, he's the guy. Who's the guy when you say we need a box
He's
to box? He's the guy that
he,
was supposed
he's
to
the
be
guy.
the dude.
Yeah, but he lacks offensively. He lacks a lot. The guy can't shoot. Let's be honest here. That's not something you're going to learn. He can improve on that, sure, but he's not the type of player I think that we need. Miretti as well. It's all a bit hit and miss. So I think we need to cement like a proper midfielder in. And I think that would be, for us, a big blessing if we get the right guy.
Two things about that, if I can, just real quick, about McKennie and Moretti. McKennie, we've talked a lot about McKennie. I mean, the work rate not in question, his versatility not in question. I think what we were talking about a lot this year is his touch has let him down, which it often has in his past. And if then there's any knock against McKennie, it's really his touch at times and his lack of goal contributions. Well, lately he's started contributing on the score sheet, and his passing has been a lot better. Not only being more accurate. I mean, he had 90% passing accuracy today to Moretti's 80. He's also expanded his passing a little bit more. There was a few balls into the channel to really relieve pressure today. And so I think he might be stepping into a moment of form that he just was really lacking for the first 10 or so games this year. So that's positive to see. Moretti, I think, if anybody, if McKennie is taking a step up, I think Moretti kind of took a big step back. He really seemed to struggle today with his passing, positioning, and his balance in order to collect the ball and distribute it in a meaningful way. Totally agree that Locatelli slowed things down. The player who would speed things up, at least in that first half, or to help us, was Moretti. But if I'm a guy trying to, in Kevin's scenario, feed the ball into the midfield, you either give it to Locatelli, who's too far back, or Moretti, who's going to lose the ball. And so I think I don't know if it's because Moretti was playing with Locatelli and they have not seemed to gel really well, like Moretti did with Koopmeiners, or whether Moretti's still trying to figure it out, or maybe this is the best we're going to get. But Moretti, if Thuram's going to be out of form, Moretti has to step up.
Can I introduce a fun fact, which I learned this afternoon? I was texting my source and I asked him if, gun to the head, Spalletti had to pick one midfielder that he'd always play. Like, no matter what, who would it be? McKennie.
Yep.
Spalletti even pondered about making McKennie captain, but he didn't want to intervene with the decisions previously made and such. But McKennie, for him, is number one in midfield.
Speaking
with this team, it's hard to argue with it. It is.
Just speaking of captaincy, like when Thuram was given the armband, at first I was like, what's going on? But Kevin correctly pointed out that there was a pre-established captain hierarchy. So I think what was it? Locatelli?
Here it is.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for you put it. That's you. You put it in the chat.
And for those on audio only, go ahead.
Yeah, for those on audio only. Thuram received the captain's armband because of the captain hierarchy that was provided, that goes again Locatelli, Bremer, Yildiz, Thuram.
And it's interestingly to see, and Zach might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think McKennie has been playing a lot better since Spalletti came. And I think that's also has to do with the trust and the fact that McKennie now has a fixed position. Because way before he was like, "Oh, we're missing a guy there. Let's put McKennie there." Oh, wait, kid boy's sick. Yeah, let's put McKennie there. Oh, bus driver's ill. Yeah, let's put McKennie there. But now he has his cemented spot within the team, within the hierarchy as well. And I think for him that's a big confidence boost. Also, as I said, Spalletti always pulls him to the side and in training sessions, tries to make him better, gives him little details or tips or tricks or whatever. And
But
You said he's got a set position, but he played right fullback. On the
No,
sheet.
no.
He was playing right
I mean-
fullback, but he was playing like a second striker. So set position.
no, in the sense that I think he knows that he's certain of a spot within the team.
Yeah. I know.
And
what you're-
that-
I'm teasing. I'm
Right
teasing.
side of the field.
I'm teasing.
Especially a midfield or about, but I think the confidence, and that's such a huge factor, and we tend to downplay that a lot. It's not because these guys are millionaires or been playing football all their life that they don't need some positive approach, some level of confidence, some level of trust, because that can make or break a lot of players.
So I think we can all
But the-
agree
but the-
McKennie had.
but
one-
the-
Go ahead, Farhad. Go ahead.
sorry, but the Harry Potter celebration needs to go. Am I right? Am I
He
the
can
only one?
celebrate, which if he scores every game, he can do whatever he like. He can even reenact Hermione for all I care on the
Oh,
pitch,
God.
as
The-
long
but
as he
the-
scores.
I don't know the whole magic
Fits his
wand
character.
celebration.
So
I am
think-
perfectly fine with it. Okay,
I'm half
McKennie.
kid-
I know.
I'm
I know.
half
I know he
kidding.
follows us and listens. And Weston,
Yes.
keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think like McKennie was certainly one of the better players on the pitch today. Farhad, do you want to take us through some of the player
Yes, sir.
ratings?
Yeah, I don't know if the listener is with us today, but somebody suggested sofascore.com as opposed to FOTMob, which I hated pronouncing. It doesn't really roll off your tongue. But here we go. Here are who wants to guess the lowest rated person, unless you're looking at the website right now.
It's got to be Miretti.
Mr. Miretti has 6.4, highest, or as we call it around here,
I have a very big testicles.
biggest testicles of the game.
McKennie with the goal.
Probably
right?
McKennie. Yeah.
Yeah.
McKennie, good job, boys. Yeah, some other standout performances here. Kelly got a 7.7. Coop Miners with an 8.0. That's the second highest. Yeah, overall, everyone is pretty much in the green except Zagrova with a 6.5 and Miretti just edging him off at 6.4.
Farhad, who was your best player of the game?
I know Frederick is gonna send a white powder to my house, but I feel like Di Gregorio had a couple of decent saves. He did screw up a couple of times, but if we're doing the tradition, traditionally my best player of the game is the worst. So Miretti should be the best player of the game for me, but.
No, you got to mention Di Gregorio. Stick with it. I'm with you this
Yeah,
time, Farhad.
yeah,
Last
no,
time that was that was nonsensical. This time, I think we need to talk about Di Gregorio. I don't think he was the
Let's
best
do it.
player in my opinion, but I think when you talk about we've complained a lot about Di Gregorio, Frederic especially, but what he did was a very professional goalkeeper today. Frederic, was he not?
He was, but he didn't like. I'm not gonna downplay like what he did because it was a decent performance. Don't get me wrong, but there weren't any moments in the game where I felt like, "Ooh, he saved us there." What I did like, and I'm gonna comment on that because I commented a lot about the things that I don't like. But what I did like today was him coming up for the aerial balls. He did that very confidently.
He did
with a lot of demeanor, commanded respect, I think. Of course, the downside of that is there weren't like a lot of tall players to make it a bit more difficult for him from Pafos' side. But I still have that eerie, shaky feeling whenever I see him doing whatever. Like, did you see that charge that he was getting? And that almost, resulted in a goal scoring opportunity, and a number of things. The first chance by Pafos, the way he went down to the ball, like that was disgraceful. It looked as if he was 88 years old. But he picked himself up during the game, did some good interventions. I just hope he carries that forward, because there will come a time when it's going to be all or nothing in terms of having a keeper in your goal that can prevent a goal that might mean a lot in a game. So I hope he gets a chance, and he probably will, to do that. And I hope he takes it, because let's be honest, he hasn't won us that many points this season. So it's about time that he gets to it. And I'll be the first to sing his praises when he does. And today was a decent showing. But I think that's the bare minimum we can expect from a Juventus goalkeeper. And he did it today. So
the Gregorio lives another day.
All right. So far, I called out Digre. Zach, who's your player of the game?
We talked about Chico, and he's a guy that I've generally more defended than criticized. And so I'm going to stick with him. I think with the formation change and his inclusion, really helped change the pace of our play in that second half, and getting to, as I refer to it, as hockey assists. So it's not going to show up on the score sheet. But it was meaningful in getting those 2 goals, especially the second one. I think that if he's going to have these sort of turbulent sinusoidal performances, we recognize the highs. And today, I think, was one of those contributions.
Frederic, what about you?
For me, it was McKennie, not just his performance overall, but we often criticize McKennie that he's too, how shall I put it, happy. I think we said that a number of times. Like, you put the camera on and he's dancing. You see him, yeah, but he's a very laid back kind of guy, and that's the quality that granted him his goal today. Because a lot of players at that point in time with that opportunity would just mentally freeze, and because he's such a laid back guy, he just went all in with the shot and thought, if I miss, I miss, but if I score, it's going to be one hell of a goal, and that set us free and liberated us in sorts. So it was his mentality that led to our win today, in my opinion. Apart from the fact that he does what he always does, he runs a hell of a lot. He tries his best. Of course, he's not the world's most technical midfielder that you can imagine, but he does what he
was
can.
Today. He was today. I mean,
he was today, yeah, especially.
Yeah.
He was very tidy today, and he seems to be in a growing phase under Spalletti. And every game he surprises me with something that he does, and it doesn't always result in a goal or a situation that is very important. But like that Zidane pirouette move was one of the things that you wouldn't have seen him do a season ago, because he lacked that confidence. Yeah. So while his confidence is boosting, his qualities have much more output than they did in the past. And for us, that's something we sorely need. And he's proven today that he's somebody, even though he's a bit more laid back, that he always takes his job seriously and tries his best. And if he has a good confidence and a good streak of games, then nice things can happen with him in midfield. And so kudos to him. Kudos to your American.
You're being given an American props, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not opening up a poll or anything, but just for the folks here with us in the chat, we had Digre, we had Chico, and we had McKennie. Just type in who you're giving your MVP to. Let's see what the people think.
Can I just highlight a comment here? I left for a little bit, drop off my daughter, but I see you guys didn't discuss the beautiful free kick routine by Miretti.
I want to talk about that actually in a minute, because I have another.
I quite literally LOL'd to myself when I saw this. I'm like, there could have been 1,000 things you could have done, and this is what we did.
That was my smoking break. When I saw that, I just went, F it. I went outside and I just had a
So
you
that's
think
what
that
getting
one was
called out
worse
for-
than Cambiaso's in the second
Yeah,
half? What was it?
for-
The 52nd minute where from the corner he passes it to the other team, giving them a free counterattack.
That was my
Dude,
fourth that was my fourth cigarette.
Cambiaso completed more passes, it seemed, to Pafos than Juventus players. I
Oh,
mean, the amount of
man.
times he just gave it to them and said, "Have fun," and then jogged back was unreal. So I don't know. I'm going to maybe defend Moretti on that one a little, though. They tried to drew that up. That wasn't a corner kick. I mean, like they tried something, they failed. That corner, that's my vote.
Well, so it seems like there's call out for McKennie. Actually, Kalulu got some love earlier in the chat, and he had a solid game. Hard to find.
Oh, Jack is in the chat here. What's up, Jack?
Yildiz, to what was called out by Mikhail Heideby here in the chat. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Indicating Yildiz was man of the match by UEFA. And I think Yildiz had a throughout the game. He was the one that demonstrated that if something were to come, it would maybe come from him.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But yeah, so I guess it is a shout for sure.
And can we mention? And I think we said an episode or two ago we talked about a Kalulu and how sometimes we don't mention him. I mean, what has he still played every minute this year? I mean, the reliability, the quality, and the consistency that he's provided our team, a team that I described very, very much earlier as flawed. Having a guy who's consistently solid and reliably there is amazing to have. Because mentally, I'm just like, I almost don't have to worry about him. He's going to go.
That's
and he's gonna do
after
his job.
That's after he went back to defending, correct? Because I remember he was right wing for a little bit, and that was just sad to watch.
As right center back.
Yeah. Like the only game where I was visibly, well, at least for myself, waving my hands around, visibly upset with his performance was that Real Madrid match. Like his offensive contributions in that game. It's like every cross, every pass, he was a half a step behind, but he has been solid throughout this season.
He's also not the type of player that you need to put in the spotlight in terms of decision making, especially offensively. I think if you leave Kalulu in the back, doing what he does, going up time and time again, but concentrating on that marking and running down the spaces, I think then he does a solid job and he contributes a lot. If you put him in the center of attention and expect things from him that maybe are not to be expected, then you see that he goes into the state of confusion. So I think he deserves his place in the team and his credit. But we don't have to put him again in an offensive role or anything, because that doesn't work.
Farhad, you had brought up the point, and we're kind of getting towards the end here, and there's probably just some last minute topics we want to cover, and I do want to be able to address some of the questions in the chat that we didn't address, and then maybe we'll close with kind of how do we structure this team for the important match against Bologna with some of the changes in tactics and lineups we saw. I think we have some options, but one thing I wanted to talk about, at least for a minute, is Farhad pointing out that disastrous kind of comical free kick that we saw in the first half, where clearly we were looking to see kind of Moretti pass it to McKennie to give it to Yildiz at the top of the box to take a shot, and clearly that didn't work. But 2 minutes before that, or maybe it was even a minute, there was a moment where Kelly had the ball an hour part of the half and placed a long ball to the other side up towards the right. And I think, if memory serves me, it was towards Zagrova, and the cross came up short. And I'm bringing this up for a very specific reason, because I think, Frederic, this also contributed towards you stepping out for a smoke break. So first, it was a good look from Kelly to start, but he hit it short, so the pass was poor. Then I think one of the Pafos players, it deflected off of him straight to one of our guys. So it was an opportunity to actually control it. We botched the control. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Sounds like McKennie screwed up the header, and then it ended up with another Pafos player. Somehow we get it back. We try to do a pass, miss the pass, give it to them. And there was this like sequence of like 4 or 5
It was
things
Benny Hill music playing in the background.
where everything went wrong. And I'm sitting there saying, this is why we're a 7th place team. And then finally we get the ball back and get it towards their box when the free kick was won. And then it resulted in that comical attempt at a set piece. And I was visibly frustrated. And you guys, my Turin Giants friends here, can see it in the notes and the preparation for this episode that I made a note about that specific 2-minute passage where I was just ready to explode.
Well,
like,
my favorite...
This is our team.
My favorite stretch of the game was when they had 3 shots. It wasn't on target, but towards the goal, 3 shots in a row. It was a terrible corner defense. Then there was a couple of balls where just they shot that volley. Let's talk about that volley straight from the corner. That was beautiful. De Gregorio, I believe, saved it.
Yeah, tipped it over.
It's a beautiful shot. I mean that goes in. They are showing this on big screens all over Cyprus for the rest of their lives. But thank God it didn't, because it was kind of embarrassing. But yeah, there was a lot of sloppy play on the corners. Somebody mentioned that we cannot defend the corners, and it continues to be the Achilles heel of the team.
There's a quote of Spalletti. I don't know if it appeared in media. My source told me they were practicing set pieces on training, and it went horribly wrong, like time and time again. Sort of like what we witnessed today, but then with set pieces. And I think somebody of the staff was shouting and very frustrated towards the players, and Spalletti calmed them down and said, "Questo siamo. This is what we are.
Yeah.
Don't expect us to, these guys are fairly good football players, but that's about it. That's the ceiling." So, and that's what I meant in the beginning of our expectations. Maybe we should set our expectations accordingly, or maybe do it the other way around and get more quality players in. And that was something I just was discussing with my source as well. He said, we bought Thuram as kind of a mystery box. You didn't know what you were going to get. And it turned out pretty okay because we didn't pay that much for him.
Yep.
Whereas, players that we expected a lot from, we paid their weight in gold, and they just didn't deliver for some reason or another. But that's not just on the coach. That goes back to a lot of factors. And this is something we need to eliminate as well, and get that stable core of Juventini and then have that base to build a team around. And now we can choose if it starts with Yildiz or not. And that's going to be a big part of our scoop episodes for the summer, I think. I think that you texted that, Kevin, in our group chat, that if things continue the way they are, we wouldn't be surprised to see Kenan playing with another jersey next season. And I think this is a vital thing to consider, because if you're at that age with that talent, that ability, what would you want? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And now it's up to Juventus to, come forth and say, okay, this is a season that, isn't going well, but this, and this are our plans. And you communicate that. And if you don't, and you accept the 80 or 100 million, and you buy random Fiorentina and Atalanta players, then you're stuck in that same loop. So it'll be very interesting to see how Comoli, especially, given that he has this decisional power now, how he'll handle that.
So there'll be a lot more to talk about with Yildiz in the weeks and months to come, especially until we see that contract extension and Ray's signed on the dotted line. But so looking through the chat here, it actually looks like we got to a lot of the points and questions, except for a comment on João Mario. And I don't want to open up that can of worms at this point. But following this match today, Juventus finds itself in 17th place out of 36 in the updated Champions League standings through match day 6. So we are sitting 17th with 9 points, 2 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. As a reminder, you need to be in 24th place in order to move on to the next round. So we are in control of our own destiny. We have 2 matches left against Sporting and Monaco, I believe, is Benfica, who beat Napoli today. So we've got Benfica, the other Portuguese team, and Monaco to close things out after the new year. But this weekend we have a very tricky away match on December 14th, the late game against Bologna. So my last question here for you guys. Zach, what formation would you be starting with?
I loved what we did in that second half, and so I want to see more of the same. Because I want McKennie to play more positions, I would adjust it slightly though. Cambiaso did nothing despite having that assist moment today to encourage or to demand a starting spot. I would keep our same back three. Plus McKennie on the wing. In fact, depending on Bremer's fitness and Rugani's fitness, we would be able to do this. But then get Coop into the midfield. Coop, the last couple games he's played in the midfield, has been fantastic. Playing with energy, pace, positivity that we haven't seen for a year and a half. So I want to get him up in the midfield. What we saw in the second half was sort of this hybrid sort of deep line role for Locatelli, which allowed him to do what he normally does without the expectation that he move forward because there's an extra midfielder. So I kind of want to see that expand on more in the interest of time. And I know we're trying to wrap up. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I want some sort of formation similar to what we saw in the second half today.
I agree. Anybody disagree with that? 4-2-3-1. We want to see that.
I think he's going to do the 4-2-3-1, but I just hope that he won't play Cambiaso.
Hey, so we agree. Maybe put maybe McKennie over there, Cabal over there. I mean, Cabal's played in a flat back 4 at Verona on the left side. So not that he's necessarily giving a ton of confidence, but you might have to because we have of the injuries, right? So if you don't play McKennie back there and you put McKennie in the midfield, and I'm speaking really fast in the interest of time, you would have to put a Kelly. You would have Kalulu. You could have McKennie on the right. You could have Cabal on the left, or
Azic in midfield.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Frederic, our friend Mitch D93 has asked this question a couple times, and this will be it for episode 332. So I know obviously there's a level of frustration in how we won. Mitch wants to know, despite what happened, was this win good for Juve in the long run? Yes or no? Tight answer.
Yes and no. For Juve as a club, it'll be good financially. For the team, it'll depend how they react to that. Because you have 2 ways in reacting. Either you're too confident and you think everything happens by itself. We don't have to put in anything. Or you look back and say, okay, we dodged the bullet here. This cannot happen anymore. And we'll make sure that the next game we start with the proper mentality like we did in the second half. So it can go both ways. But financially, for the club, it's a very big relief.
And let's see how they react to this win, and can they carry any positive momentum into this weekend? We've got a tough stretch of games ahead of us to close out the year. Zach, Farhad, Frederic, a pleasure as always. For those of you who joined us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate you spending time with us. We know you're joining from all time zones all over the world. We're grateful to share this moment with you. For those listening on the podcast, thank you. Come back again. We will be with you. The post game for Bologna is still a bit up in the air due to our availability. We will have one, whether it comes immediately on Sunday or later on Monday. We will get that sorted. Grateful for the win today. Fino alla fine and Forza Juve.
Conclusione errata! Andrea Pirlo! Un gol pazzesco! Del Piero! No! Alex! Del Piero! Palla di Pogacar, Pogba! Rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere